Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, here to bring you another episode review from Season 5 of The Loud House. Today's episode is titled, Kernel of Truth. First we'll discuss the plot, and then my thoughts and critiques with my final score. So, let's get right into it. The episode begins with Stella and her friends discovering an old news studio at Royal Woods Middle School and decide to talk to Principal Ramirez about bringing the show back. The principal says the show ended because no one watched it, but she gives them a chance anyway. It doesn't go over well, and the principal threatens to cancel the show again unless they can come up with a good news story by the next day. After learning there's no popcorn in the school because someone is taking it before anyone can get to it, the kids finally have a story. They spot a hooded stranger intercepting the popcorn from a delivery truck early in the morning before school, and the principal gives the kids the rest of the week to find the culprit. They chase a man delivering more popcorn, only to find out it's not the same man from before. They then place a tracker in a popcorn bag, and when it's on the move, they follow it to the wharf, but the culprit gets away on a ferry headed to Canada. The next day at school, they find a ticket for the ferry they saw last night and believe the culprit is in the building. They follow a trail to a locked door, and they bust inside to see the walls covered in popcorn and Meryl, who admits to stealing it as a way of soundproofing the room so she could watch her soap opera in silence. She begs the kids not to air the story out of fear of losing her job, to which they all agree, but in order to prevent them from losing their news show, Meryl gives them another story they can use. They discover the hidden game room Russie was talking about earlier in the episode, and Principal Ramirez allows them to keep the show. Well, that concludes the plot of the episode, so now we come to my thoughts and critiques. When I first read the mini synopsis before the official airing, I had little expectation on what was going to happen. I even thought they would do one of those episodes where the kids would make up stories to keep the news show going, and then get found out at the end after things started going bad because of their untruthful stories. Of course, that didn't happen here, and although it was better than my worst case scenario that I imagined based on the mini synopsis, the end result was very underwhelming and a bit confusing in the long run. In hindsight, I wish it was an episode about dishonesty in news coverage, but that's not the case. Besides the obvious animation error of Cheryl, Meryl's sister, being in Principal Ramirez's office, parts of the conflict regarding the series of events leading to the big revelation, as well as the aftermath, is what drove the episode down. Now, it's one thing if Meryl has access to the vending machines so she can stock it up with everything except the popcorn, although why the actual delivery man isn't the one doing that job doesn't make any sense. By the way, we never find out if the first delivery man ever had a connection to Meryl's popcorn scheme besides just handing her the box every day. Could he have been the one to give Meryl the key to the machine? We'll never know. Aside from playing around with the idea of either the school having no surveillance cameras or the kids not thinking to check them, being able to spot someone on tape going into a locked room with a box of popcorn would have been a more believable way of catching the culprit in the act as opposed to the cliche follow that trail trope. It made sense to follow the trail for the bag tracker, despite how extremely obvious it was to spot. But in the end, there's no given reason as to why Meryl needed to go on a ferry or to discard the ticket in the school trash can. Another thing that bothered me was the idea of using popcorn to soundproof the room. On the one hand, if you realize there is a thing called popcorn ceiling, which does in fact absorb sound and reduce noise, you can take Meryl's explanation as a joke, as in, oh, I see what you did there. You made your own popcorn soundproof room with actual popcorn. I get that, and I will admit it's pretty clever wordplay. But on the other hand, the idea of using popcorn to absorb sound is a bit ridiculous, even by Loud House standards, and rather unnecessary since Meryl was not making any noise when she was watching her soap on her laptop when she was outside the principal's office. Maybe she makes a lot of noise if she's going to cry during her soap? Maybe. My last critique is discovering the hidden game room in an old locker with caution tape sprawled across it, and how it's conveniently big enough for people to just walk inside and head down a corridor. Sounds like something out of Willy Wonka, doesn't it? Principal Ramirez claimed to have been looking for that room for years, but if Meryl knew about it, how did no one else know about it? Perhaps Meryl has a selfish side no one knows about and likes to keep things secret for her own benefit. Maybe the teachers are hiding the supposed hot tub from Meryl. We don't know, and I guess we're not supposed to know. So, yeah. Aside from getting a few laughs from Zach dressed up as a bush, there weren't a lot of funny moments to come out of this episode. It's a bummer, but what can you do? Overall, this episode was really not as good as I had hoped. It started out interesting enough to keep me engaged, and it had potential to be either a good whodunit or a good lesson in journalism, and as overdone as those types of episodes can be, they rarely ever feel like a total letdown. But in the case of what we did get, the story fell apart more than halfway through, with many missteps and no logical flow to the sequence of events with little to no explanation when it came to tying up the loose ends. It would have been a below average episode had it not been for Lincoln and his friends. I can't fault the kids in how the conflict got resolved, since they were willing to sacrifice their news show in order for Meryl to keep her job. They did the same thing for Norm the janitor back in Tales of Woe, so they wouldn't have seen a reason to get Meryl in trouble either. They respect the school staff enough to see certain employees as friends who wouldn't do anything extremely bad or truly worthy of getting them fired. They turn to people like Meryl and Norm to help them in a tight spot, and they'll return the favor. I respect that. But on the whole, there wasn't much to save here. I give Kernel of Truth a 7 out of 10. Well, folks, that concludes my review of Kernel of Truth. It's one of the low points of the season, and we're not even halfway done. I wouldn't hit the panic button just yet. There's still plenty of time for better episodes, at least in my opinion. So what did you guys think of it? Love it? Hate it? Something you would add? Change? Keep it as it is? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to this channel for the latest Loud House content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.